right. So to those in the meeting and to those watching online, welcome to the 2025 Crowley Lake Challenge wrap-up show. So before we dive in, I'd really like to give a big shout out to our partners, the Crowley Fish Foundation and Crowley Lake Fish Camp. Both of them were really instrumental to this project. They helped us connect with the anglers like yourselves in the Crowley region, and we really appreciate all that. And we'll be talking a little bit more in depth about the things that the Crowley Fish Foundation does later in this meeting. So my name is Jack Compos. I'm project manager here at Anglers Atlas, also a diehard angler, currently based out of Canada, originally from the East Coast, New Hampshire. Did a lot of bass tournaments back in the day, not so much, unfortunately, but hoping to get back at it. And I've been working with Anglers Atlas for 4 years now.
Yeah, thanks, Jack. And my name is Sean Simmons. I'm president of the Anglers Atlas and MyCatch. Historically, I used to be a limnologist. That's someone that studies lakes. And then I got into sharing free fishing maps with anglers back in literally the 1990s. And did it online, did it in magazine format, and realized that a lot of the anglers love sharing information back. And so therein lies the origin of MyCatch, which is a citizen science platform designed to help support fisheries researchers and managers by utilizing the anglers who are already on the water. So that's the essence of what we do.
My name is Chris Leonard, and I'm a full-time teacher at Mammoth High School, and I guide fly fishing predominantly this time of year. Very busy guiding, and I'm the board secretary for the Crowley Fish Foundation.
Hi, I'm Carolyn Ito, and I live in Torrance, California, Southern Cal, and have been fishing over 40 years and all up in the Sierras, and really have enjoyed Crowley. It's one of those challenging lakes, or reservoir to fish, and I think this is the second year, and I just really liked all the new improvements, and I really like the app. I'm not real techie, but it's very user friendly, and I like all the pictures that people post, and everyone's so happy. And I think everybody got a clearer understanding of the rules this year. And the GPS part, then you can at least see. I'm a registered nurse past 40 years, so I like the data part of everything. And I know it's important that whatever we are able to obtain from the catches, that it all helps in the long run. And the fish seem very healthy. I caught, I think, a long 21-inch or something like that, brown. And that was, I think, the first trip I went up. And, they were, the lengthwise, we noticed they're longer and skinnier because they haven't fattened up yet. So later, the other two trips, the fish looked longer, but when I was able to measure them, they were thick. So I'm on my measuring board, so they were fattening up pretty much on whatever's natural bait out there. So, and a couple, I think they had told us that you may catch Eagle Creek type of trout. Has a different color to it. I don't know. I think maybe caught one or two, but those look very healthy as well. So the fish did extremely well from the past year being in Crowley.
Okay, so to start, I'd like to take a look at all of the great hero shots that have come in throughout the event. And seeing all the mountains in the background really makes me want to get out to Crowley. Like, these are just absolutely breathtaking shots. That's a nice fish there. Like, look at that. I think that's your son, isn't it, Carolyn?
Yes, and he really he only was able to fish one day, and he had so much fun with the competition and was just really into fishing, which was great. So I said, hey, you want to come up again next year? Hopefully we'll have another challenge. It would be great. So yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I saw his name up there on the leaderboards too. That's great. Yeah, there's Scott. Hopefully he'll end up showing up. It's a really nice cutthroat there. Yeah, just look at that background. That's just gorgeous. All right, and now I want to highlight some of the releases. This video specifically is from an angler, Kane Kuo. This event is all about fisheries research and fisheries management. So we really want to highlight proper fish handling. And looking at this release, it really doesn't get any better than that. Fish out of the water for maybe a minute and then back in and swims away strong. You know, that's really, really as good as it gets there. So we wanted to highlight that. So now I'm going to pass it off to Sean a little bit, and he's going to dive into some of the stats that we gathered this year. And he's also going to give a bit of a background on how this whole project works. So I'll pass it off to Sean.
Yeah, thanks, Jack. Maybe we'll start with just the nature of the research of this project. We are testing out a new way to estimate out total harvest. Typically, the way fisheries management agencies estimate total harvest or total catch is they do creel surveys where they interview anglers as they come off the water or when they're on the water, and also then estimate out total number of boats, also called pressure. What we're doing is seeing if we can apply a mark recapture method to achieve that same goal. And there's some advantages to doing it this way. One is that we can use the app. And so what you'll see here is two images. The first image is a picture of a fish on in the app. Now, unfortunately, I didn't have time to get a rainbow trout. So what you're seeing is a walleye. But essentially, when an angler takes a picture of a fish in the event, that counts as the mark. And then what happens is, as the anglers come off the water, if they are interviewed by one of the creel clerks that are out there, they get asked, did you report this on the app? And when that happens and they say yes, that counts as a recapture. And then you can apply mark recapture methods to estimate totals there. And this is a method that's been applied across multiple ecological fields for approaching a century now. So it's a well-established method. And so we're testing if we can do this in a purely voluntary framework, i.e. through the event. And so that's what we're testing here. And this is one of 6 events we're testing this across in a variety of fisheries, and 3 river fisheries, 3 lake fisheries, and also across a wide range of different species to see if we can get reasonable estimates of total catch. And this is a project that's funded through the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation, and it's in partnership with the California Department of Fish and Wildlife, as well as the Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife. And it's purely a research project, so it's not for management. But assuming we can successfully make this work, it holds great opportunities in the future to be able to apply app-based solutions to solve some of the challenges that are faced by fisheries management. Now, what we're seeing here is a dashboard that we provide our agency partners. And I'm not sure if we've mentioned it yet, but secret spots stay secret. It's one of the things that I repeat on almost every single one of the presentations. The GPS data is protected and locked down, and so that's not released. But what we do is generalize it to a water body. In this case, it's Crowley Lake. And then we anonymize the data so that it can be useful for our fisheries partners. And so what you're seeing here is essentially, it's the stats for Crowley Lake. You've got 1 water body, a total of 42 anglers reporting, 142 total trips. We also capture the zeros, which is an important part of the data collection process. So there are 26 trips without any catches. Exactly 500 total fish were caught, 795.99 hours. So 796 hours were fished with a catch rate of 0.63. So that's the type of creel-like data that's generated just from the app itself. Now, one of the benefits is, since we have length distribution of every fish, we can start to get a sense of what the population is like. And the length basically serves as a proxy for age. So the first slide that's up are the cutthroat, and the total of 34 cutthroat were caught, ranging from 13.3 to 21.7 inches with an average of 17.3 inches. Next up, we've got Sacramento perch. We had 63 catches, beginning at 6.5 inches, ending at 13.5 inches with an average length of 9.6. Now we start stepping up into a much larger number of catches. Rainbow trout, we had 138 catches there from 58 trips. Smallest was 8.7. The largest was 22.4 inches with an average of 16.1 inches. And finally, the brown trouts. We had 160 brown trout, and definitely the largest of the length distribution. Smallest was 12.2 inches, maximum of 23 inches. Average about the same as the rainbow, 16.2 inches. And that gives you a pretty good sense of what the range of the species were that were being caught and reported on in Crowley Lake. Now, this next set of graphs we call them rose plots. Essentially, they're 24-hour dials. So you can see at each hour when people were fishing. That's the graph on the left. So basically, a few people go out at 6, but really 7 o'clock is when people start heading out. Peaks around 9 a.m. and then slowly tapers off 10 a.m. and then drops precipitously after lunch. So as Carolyn was talking earlier, definitely a morning fishery. Lake gets a little dangerous in the afternoon, I hear. The middle graph shows when people are catching it. So you can see the catch is dominated between 7 and 11 a.m. in the morning. The graph on the far right, well, that's catch rate, but it doesn't always work well because sample size sometimes skews things up. So I generally discount that one. We need to work on that one.
All right, now we can start looking at the winners from the 2025 Crowley Lake Challenge. So our first leaderboard is the most fish caught. You see a huge discrepancy on this leaderboard. Clearly, a lot of people are able to be out on the lake longer than others. But in fifth, we have Carolyn with 25 fish caught. Fourth place, Stephen, 30 fish caught. Third place, Jessica with 48. Second place, Kane with 110. And taking home the grand prize is Scott with 120 fish caught. So now we'll look at the longest Sacramento perch leaderboard. In third place, we have Denise L. at 12.5 inches. Second place, Ireland Barnes at 12.5 inches. And first place, Gilbert Rowe, 12.7 inches. So that's really a close distribution there for that leaderboard. And there's the full leaderboard. Carolyn, you were so close, 0.3 off. Now we'll look at the cutthroat trout leaderboard. So in third place, we have Kirby, 21.3 inches. Second place, we have Kane, 21.5 inches. It's a nice fat fish. And first place, we have Jessica, 21.7 inches. Looking at the full leaderboard, our first through third place are within 0.4 inches of each other. So really anybody's game. Sixth place, we had Scott. Fifth place, Anthony. Fourth place, Robert. And I already went through first through third. Next, we'll look at the brown trout. This was the largest leaderboard. So these are some really great fish coming up. Third place, we have Laura, 21.1 inches. Second place, Carolyn. There you go. You're up there, Carolyn, 21.7 inches. And in first place, we have Robert Rodriguez, 23 inches. That's a nice football there. And there is our full leaderboard. And lastly, our rainbow trout leaderboard. We have third place, Matthew, 21.5 inches. Second place, Jacqueline, 22.4 inches. And first place, Kane, 23-inch rainbow. That's a beauty. There's a look at our full leaderboard. And now we're going to take a moment to speak with some of our anglers. We have Carolyn Ito on the call, and we are going to see, what tactics gave her the success. She's up there on multiple leaderboards. So, yeah, I guess I'll pass it off to you, Carolyn. Is there anything special that you were doing that you think led to your success, or just luck?
It's still luck because, like I said, the factor seems to be lately the past 2 years has been the weather, whether it could be fires, but the winds have been. It's windy anyways on Crowley. We all know by lunchtime it's like looking at the flag, but it's like it's coming up sometimes sooner. Sometimes it's just too dangerous. It's, white cap. It's just not a good idea to go fishing. But this trip, I did 3 trips, and each trip I was able to at least fish 2 days, like half days, without having to sacrifice a day of fishing. And I think I don't know, a lot of people like to group around different areas when they see, oh, they must be catching over there. That's not necessarily it. I kind of try to do the depth thing, and then I fish earlier in the season just because I like the water to be clearer, not with a lot of the weeds and the algae that kind of covers the top of the lake. And again, I think fly fishing is just enjoyable. So no bait, just flies, and just kind of seeing what's coming up from the midges, and just trying to stay as close to that natural bait for the fish, and just enjoying the nice scenery. This year was beautiful up there. So I don't know if that helps any, but
Yeah,
I
that was
just had
great.
a nice time, and fortunate to get up there 3 times in May.
That's awesome. And I don't know, Chris, I know you weren't in the event this year, but I know you're a regular on Crowley. Do you have any tips for maybe people who want to participate next year?
Well, I think you nailed it right on. I mean, it's been an abnormally windier spring and summer than most. We've just had a lot of wind events that are going on, and what you mentioned also about it being a big lake is very true, especially in the early season. You know, I tend to find that in the early season, the fish are everywhere, nowhere, meaning they're not highly concentrated into those river channels where they're going to be now, because that's where the coolest water is coming in. So in May, they do get to be a lot spread out all over the place. But, you know, and I haven't been on it really much this season at all. I mean, there's days and days and years of experience of fishing that lake. But the reports that I've been hearing also this summer have been that it's been fishing pretty well. So it's still holding up strong.
Oh, Sean, you're muted.
So yes, Chris, so this time of year, do you find people will go deep for some of the fish, or generally go to the creeks?
Yeah, word has it right now you're fishing about 30 feet. I mean, you know, the further down you are, the cooler the water. So therefore, the more prone those fish are to be located in those places where the water temperatures are more conducive for fish sustainability. So those trout will go even lower than that. Sometimes, you know, the water temps at 30 degrees in the middle of the summer will still be maybe 65 degrees, 66, 67 degrees. So those fish will actually drop down to like 60 feet of water and then come up and feed on those mud flats in 30 feet and then come right back down again. So, and it'll change. I mean, it always does. Once we get to the later part of the season, again, they're going to come up into the shallower waters when we get some cooling trends going on. So, and they could come up in there anyways between now and then as well. So there's no reason why things wouldn't change basically in a couple weeks. And maybe they're moving up into the shallow river channels there. So the word does have it, unfortunately, that it's green now. So the fishing, I think, is going to be tough for a couple of weeks. That's just the natural cycle of Crowley Lake. And it will the reports last October was Ernie, who's on our board and a regular longtime guide on the lake, said that last October was one of the best Octobers he's ever seen. So it's safe to presume that it's going to be another strong close to the season also this year.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm a noob when it comes to fly fishing and really trout fishing in general. My bread and butter is bass and pike, as you know, kind of basic as that can be for an angler, but that's really what I got around here. So what kind of baits are you using to target? You said you're fishing 30 feet. And me, I think fly fishing, I think standing along a stream, you know, swing casting. How are you getting those baits down to 30 feet?
You're putting 2 midges on that are very heavily weighted to be able to get down there, and you're really not even casting at that point. You're kind of just hamstringing the line overboard and hoping that it doesn't get caught up on itself. So it's a very different form of quote unquote fly fishing than what I was doing today at Hot Creek, which is more the typical river runs through it, casting all day long, you know, at rising fish. So, I mean, it's fly fishing because you're fishing with a fly rod, but it's incomparably different than fishing moving water. So, you know, as the photos show, though, that dictate the big fish in the Eastern Sierra tend to live in Crowley. So you get a lot of the really fun fights, you know, those fish usually peeling off line and take you for a spin, and some of them might dolphin and jump here and there. So it's a hoot. When the bite at Crowley is good, the bite at Crowley is fun, is what it boils down to.
Yeah.
It's got to come on out, Jack. That's the only way you're going to experience it, right? So
I'm dying to. Maybe I can nudge Sean. He can expense it for me.
There you go. And midge fishing is called midge fishing or Corona midge fishing. It wasn't discovered at Crowley. it goes back really far, and you can basically stillwater fish for trout with a fly rod in any stillwater using chironomids or midge fishing. It just happens to be a super highly productive way of getting good numbers at Crowley Lake.
So you drop those midges down to 30 feet on those mud flats. So
the record that I have guiding on Crowley it was Jim Barnes and his son. We landed a fish that took the fly at 40 feet.
Ooh.
It's nuts. It's stupid. It's annoying at that point. And there's also the problem with that as well is the deeper that your fly is, your reaction time might be delayed to set the hook right on the indicator going down. So you might not have a fish on the other end because the time that bobber's bounced up and down, that fish is gone because there's 30 to 40 feet of separation between the bobber and the fly. So it's challenging fishing. There's not a single guide or angler that I'm aware of that prays for fishing 30 feet depths in Crowley. The desired range is anywhere from 12 to 6, right? Because the other issue, of course, now you need a sliding indicator because you got to pop the indicator because you're not going to be able to bring, your rod's 10 feet long. So you reel it all the way up to the indicator, you've got 30 feet of line on, right? So you have to have an indicator system where the indicator pops, slides all the way down so that you can bring that fish in. And then you got to reset it every single time. It's not an easy way to fish. So you get out there on those days, you definitely earn your fish. The other problem, of course, is there's lots of problems when fishing that deep, is you have multiple anglers on the boat. You've got a lot more line in the water now. So you've got higher probability of anglers tangling on themselves. So there's a whole bunch of stuff that makes it chaotic.
Mm-hmm. And what sort of color do you use? The green chironomids or?
It just varies. I mean, a lot of the standard patterns are red with black wiring or copper wiring, and maybe some Mickey Barron's a famous tire in the area that developed some patterns here. The Copper Tiger, I think that's a black bead or a grayish bead and a gold bead, and then what does that one have? It's red with gold wiring. To be honest, guys, variation counts, especially in the end of the season. I don't tie a lot of flies. I tie some, but I ran into Hodges, one of our board members, in his garage a couple of days ago, dropped by, say hi, and drop off some fishing stuff. And he's at the vise tying. And he was talking about tying different variants of color patterns. And that really, I think, plays an important role. And later in the season, I mean, these fish have been stung in the face a bunch, right? So they start to get accustomed to last time I ate that red with silver wire, I was pulled out of the water for a minute and that wasn't fun. So I'm not going to eat it this time. So we have some pretty creative tires in the region, and what I'm seeing is the more creative sometimes tires get, the more that fish might be prone to actually eating that fly, especially in the later part of the season.
Interesting. And so when you kick off the season, beginning of or I guess at end of April, beginning of May, you're fishing maybe 12 feet with chironomids, or are you also trying something else? It's
predominantly the midge fishing is usually chironomidge. So if you have a flow tube, you can kick around with a streamer, on an intermediate line, on a sink line. But most fishing from the boat is midge fishing because there's not heavy surface activity on Crowley. There's some, and it's not effective to be stripping streamers all day from a stationary anchored boat. The most effective way to strip streamers, a little perch fry or something, is in a float tube where you're actually moving around. So it's mostly from the anchored boats you're doing your midge fishing. But that said, I mean, a good day at Crowley can be a phenomenal day. So when the bite's red hot, it's super fun. When it's slow, it's a little on the slower side, so to say. So boring is probably the best adjective. So
enjoying the scenery.
Yeah, I mean, I'm honestly, guys, I'm more of a river fisher myself. It's just why I've been guiding and fishing Hot Creek a lot in the Upper Owens, and Hot Creek is one of the tributaries that flows into it, and just been fishing so well this summer, and that I just haven't put the boat in the lake until about 2 hours from now. So, and there's a lot of season left. I mean, we're halfway through. There's 3 more months of fishing.
And when's it really cool down? Is it like mid-September, October? Then
towards the latter part of September, basically, is when you start to see it on. Beginning of October, when the night temps start to drop again, close to freezing, is when the bite. The water clears up again. The lake doesn't turn over because the vegetation bloom is not as aggressive as it is now, for example. And I was out of town a lot in October, and Ernie kept telling me that I was out of my mind because he was stacking huge numbers on, I mean, his guide trips, he's getting clients on 30, 40 fish, yeah.
Brilliant.
And like your typical fish is what you guys saw. I mean, it's not uncommon to go out on Crowley Lake and catch multiple fish that are in the low 20-inch range. So
Well, that's great
it's a fun place.
Well, we'll have to do a tour. Pyramid Lake, I know that's a destination, and we could do a big tour through this Sierras. That's technically in the Sierras, Crowley, right?
Yes, in the Eastern Sierra.
And where does Eagle fall into that? Because that's
Eagle Lake. Eagle Lake is further north, and that's one of the. She mentioned Eagle Creek is the strain. It's the Eagle Lake strain, and Eagle Lake is actually bouncing back where it has it. Eagle Lake took a dive with one of the droughts. But Eagle Lake is actually now fishing pretty well. And that's the strain of trout that comes out of there is called the Eagle Lake strain. And to the best of my knowledge, it's a fairly sturdy strain. So I think Department of Fish and Wildlife likes it. So that's a little further. That's up by Susanville. So that's much further north from where we are right now.
Yeah, we've got an event kicking off then. Is that September 1st, Jack?
Yep, September 1st through October 31st.
You should get positive reports. I mean, the word on the street has it that Eagle Lake has bounced back and rebounded again. So
that's great. Yeah. I think at this point, yeah, I appreciate all the tips and tricks you've given us, Chris and Carolyn. And I think now I kind of want to give you the floor, Chris, to talk a little bit about CFF, given you guys have helped us so much. I wanted to give you a platform to promote yourselves, maybe share what you're doing with CFF and maybe some ways people could get involved and help contribute.
Perfect. So Carolyn, like if you guys and Jack, Sean, Paige, you're probably familiar that our website is crowleyfishfoundation.org. And we just keep growing at a very steady and consistent rate here. So, we started in May 2024. Not really knowing what we're going to do. And I noticed, Jack, I sent you the wrong picture. You got our mutant trout in the logo that I sent you. It's got 4 fins underneath that. I actually counted that. And so I got to get you the correct non-mutant trout that has 2 correct fins under it. I'll email you our proper logo. So we're 14-ish months into existence now, 14 and a half months, and we've grown an insane amount over that time. So taking kids fishing and hosting fly tying clinics and taking vets fishing. Our big event is tomorrow. We're taking 11 tribal kids. We've got a great donor, Chad Warwick is his name, and he has offered very generously to purchase for all of the 11 kids their own individual outfit, rod, reel, line for every single kid. And he's offered to pay for dinner for every single kid and parent. So Chad is spending a lot of money on the excursion tomorrow. Who's going out tomorrow? Joe Contaldi, Andre Narcisian, Hodges Glass, Jarrett Coons. I'm taking Pedro and Phil to video record the event. And obviously, getting that on social media is a great thing. So, we're still low on fundraising, but that's because we're not 501c3 status yet. The good news there is that I submitted to the IRS our 1023 application for 501c3 status about a couple months ago. Estimates are going to be sometime between Thanksgiving and December. The IRS will approve us. I see no reason why they wouldn't. And that's going to be a completely different game changer for us. So, we've got heavy hitters that are already talking about lining up to give us attractive donations as soon as we have privileges for tax exempt status receipt writing capabilities that we don't have now. So we've been collecting seed money, but the big money's still to be chased down. So our board's growing. We have acquired now, as we should, liability insurance and liability release forms so that we take kids on an adventure like this for tomorrow. We as a board and an organization are protected. So we just basically keep growing up in really good ways and really good things happen. And, for an organization that's only 14 months old, it's pretty shocking to see how far we've come, and we have a long ways to go still. So we feel very confident that we'll be generating tens of thousands of dollars annually. And the idea behind that, of course, is to be able to buy in the private market fish from Desert Springs Hatchery up in Oregon to supplement Department of Fish and Wildlife stocking of wild fertile fish. DFW put in fertile reproducing fish, And it's hard for an organization like us to buy reproducing fish, but that's not a big deal. DFW will do it, and then we'll be buying trophy fish from Desert Springs Hatchery, and everybody wins. And not just stocking the lake, but our bylaws are written to stock the tributaries, also the Owens River, McGee, maybe. I don't know if we stock that, or predominantly the Owens is my guess. So it's just good things continue to happen. And it's the cool thing about the foundation that I'm seeing is how contagious the enthusiasm is. So people want to either help us with sweat equity, or, I mean, we're collecting checks. You know, I got a check today for $500 from a donor, even though there's no tax benefits. So it's going in the direction it should. And it takes a minute to get all of our ducks in line, but we're going to get there. So, and we've enjoyed working with you guys, you know, partnering not only with Crowley Fish or with Anglers Atlas, but we partnered with No Hot Creek Mine and Trout Unlimited to work with Trout Unlimited to get Hot Creek designated as an outstanding natural resource water to protect it from mining. We are partners, obviously, with Department of Fish and Wildlife and working with our local biologist, Nick Buckmaster. And people like us. The bottom line is, you know, an all volunteer-based organization, and people like us. So it's been pretty cool.
Yeah, it's been great working with you too, Chris.
Yeah, that's really great work you guys are doing. And again, for anybody watching, that's crowleyfishfoundation.org, and we'll have that link posted in the description of this video. So yeah, please go check it out. It's a great cause. And I think with that, guys, if we don't have anything else, I think we can go ahead and wrap it up. I don't know, Carolyn, Sean, Chris, anything else today?
Thank you, guys. You know, and as regards, when I was thinking though, Jack, Sean, about, you know, how we could grow this still, if you guys want to do this, I think one of the best ways to do this is to make it habit forming for anglers. I would suggest, if you guys want to think about this, close to where I live down here in Bishop is the wild trout region of the Owens River, the Pleasant Valley Reservoir section. And Nick Buckmaster actually went in there earlier this year in March with some of our volunteers and electroshocked it to do a survey in there. And they want to continue to do this. That fishery is heavily fished by numerous people in wintertime from Southern California, and particularly really the casting clubs. They fish it hard. I mean, like Long Beach has 3 organized trips to come up here. Long Beach Casting Club, Pasadena has at least 1. Every Southern California angler basically comes up fly fishing and fishes it in the wintertime. And I think it would be worthwhile for you guys to explore hosting an event. Department of Fish and Wildlife would love you for it, you know, and we would obviously get the word out for you guys of doing a challenge on the Owens River. I would say from like October 1st, the flows are really high right now, and the temperatures are really high. Sometime in the middle of October is when they start to really drop it. You know, they cut the flows, and that's when it really turns game on. If you guys were to explore hosting an event there, I would say like from middle October, maybe October 15th to like January 15th. You could do it longer than that because people fish it up through March. But that would be 2 things. It would give Department of Fish and Wildlife critical data on a fishery that's important to them. And it would give the opportunity to continue for us at Crowley Fish Foundation to be able to preach you guys and say, hey, you know, now besides just Crowley Lake, let's continue this. And you guys fish in the lower Owens, it's all catch and release. It's all zero limit. It would be awesome to be able to get people to build that habit forming, right? Because between now and next summer is a long time off. So if we could do something for a lot of the Southern Californians that come up here and fish in October to February, that'd be perfect. October 15th to President's Weekend would be perfect. And that would create an environment where people could continue to use your guys' app. And then it sets up again for next summer in Crowley, more people are familiar with this. So it just grows it out from there. So that's my advice.
Who would be a good a partnering agency at a larger level? Like I know you mentioned there's was it the California Fly Fishers Association? We tried to get connected with them last year, but never connected. But it'd be good to sort of connect with somebody that was across the state of California, because then we can look at building out maybe some proposals, like a larger term program.
Well, your organizations are Cal Trout, you know, is one of the big California-specific conservation groups, nonprofits. Trout Unlimited does some fantastic work here in California. So I'm not aware of a California Fly Fishers Association.
Oh, it doesn't have to be fly fishing. Yeah, just
Right.
an organization dedicated to.
I would think that going through both Cal Trout and Trout Unlimited have their hands on the Eastern Sierra. So and either of those organizations I think would be glad to help partner a Lower Owens River challenge. So, and obviously us at Crowley Fish Foundation, I mean, more and more people are learning about us. And, you know, Joe Capaldi just spoke to all of the Southern California fly fishing clubs, giving his self-promotion 2 months ago. And when he did, he talked about Crowley Fish Foundation and Anglers Atlas. I'm on the schedule of speakers. I'm speaking to the major casting clubs in January, so I can share that information also. So I would suggest that you guys kind of run this through Nick Buckmaster, Department of Fish and Wildlife, the local biologist, us, Crowley Fish Foundation would be glad to get that information out and propose Trout Unlimited and Cal Trout also partnering up with this.
Yeah, I think that could be really useful. I know that there is some interest in some high elevation lake surveys. Now, this is a little bit different. I think what you're suggesting, it's not necessarily, well, it's not a lake and it might be high elevation. I don't know. But I think there's some interest in getting additional data on those things. So if we could maybe tie something to sort of a larger suite of events where you could basically get the Owens River in the fall, you get the higher elevation lakes. I don't think there's ice fishing there, so it'll probably be.
I was going to say, Sean, the problem with that is that's summer specific because they're all buried in snow in the winter time.
Totally.
You know, and to be honest, I mean, if you guys have the capability to run 2 different challenges at once, the Upper Owens River, which is a tributary of Crowley Lake, is heavily fished all winter long because the Crowley Lake fish move up into there. That would also be directly beneficial to collect that information. If you guys were to hold 2 events, one on the Lower Owens, I say October to mid-January, mid-February, and then the Upper Owens, you could push that one back because the trout move in there in the middle of the winter. You could run that one around middle of December to middle of February, end of February. It's again habit forming, right, for anglers, and Department of Fish and Wildlife would love you guys for it. So as we would at Crowley Fish Foundation.
Yeah, we can run like dozens, hundreds of events simultaneously. We certainly haven't got to that scale, but I think we've had the most at any one time, 16 different events running at the same time. In fact, we have people like in the Midwest Walleye Challenge, we had folks fishing the Mississippi, and they signed up to the Iowa event and the Illinois event, and they qualified for both with every single catch. So they just report once and they go to both events, which was kind of cool.
But later this evening, I'll ping both of you guys the locations of the 2 places that I'm speaking of with the time periods that I'm referring to. So
yeah, let's stay in touch, Chris. There's some ideas percolating on our side. Maybe we could work this into something like a larger scale program across, like this year it's three lakes across California. I mean, there's no reason it couldn't be 30 water bodies, and it's staggered at different times. So
that's all I have to share.
All right. Well, I think that is going to be a wrap for us then tonight. I appreciate everybody for showing up, and to the folks listening online, thank you for participating in the 2025 Crowley Lake Challenge.